There were a few outliers in our study of 10 teacherpreneurs, and there was one in particular that really intrigued me, and that was participant 15. She intrigued me because she was the only one out of the 10 participants that worked in a middle school and was a special education teacher. So many of her posts, as you can imagine, were related to middle schoolers and their quirkiness, and also being a special education teacher. She also was unique in that she used a lot of videos in her Instagram posts compared to some of the other teacherpreneurs who used more still images. So when we dug deep into her material, into her posts, the words that she used in her posts, the hashtags, which by the way, she was one of the only ones that used the most hashtags and the most diverse number of hashtags, and I'll talk about that in a minute. As we looked into her videos, we coded her as being actually the one with the most teacher leadership qualities, right? So she had specifically around teacher leadership, she was strongest in facilitating improvement in instruction and student learning, which makes sense because she's a special education teacher. She also promoted the use of assessments and data in schools and districts in order to improve student learning. And she was a huge advocate for her students, for student learning, for teachers, and the profession as a whole. But what was really interesting is that even though she had the most codes related to teacher leadership, she was one of the teachers with one of the fewest codes related to marketing. And we thought that that was really interesting. And even though she had the fewest marketing strategies, the really in-your-face marketing strategies that we saw many of the other teacherpreneurs use, she had the most likes. When we totaled all of the likes, she had the most likes. Now, what does this mean, right? Well, we can't really generalize this to everybody, but for this particular case, she was clearly personable. She had the most number of personal related posts where she talked about mental health, her mental health, the mental health of her students and teachers around her. She talked the most about some personal challenges, but also successes that she had in her life. She was a natural on video, by the way, and so she could connect with her audience very personably. And I enjoyed, actually, I kind of was sucked into some of her videos and her posts, and I enjoyed the way she engaged with her audience. Now, again, she didn't use those marketing strategies. She just used her experiences. And because of that, it led her more towards being more of a teacher leader than the entrepreneur or a marketer. Now, I did mention that she used a lot of hashtags. She actually had, I believe, 163 different hashtags she used in the posts in that period of 2 months, which is quite a bit of hashtags, especially when you compare it to the other teacherpreneurs who typically use the same hashtags, and some of them didn't even use hashtags at all. Now, because she used a lot of hashtags and a variety of hashtags, she may have widened the net of her viewership. So people who may not have typically, come across a teacherpreneur may have come across her because she used a specific hashtag that interested them and fit their algorithm of types of videos and Instagram posts that they watched on Instagram and Facebook. So, what does this mean about the future of teacherpreneurship? Again, this can't be very generalizable, but it does show us that though she didn't use the typical marketing strategies that entrepreneurs online use and teacherpreneurs in specifically, she was very personable. And we know through the literature about social media and influencers that use social media as a platform to gain not only influence in their field, but also revenue. They typically use tactics like the one this teacherpreneur used. like being personable, sharing stories, using videos, funny memes. She clearly used a marketing tactic that many typical social media influencers use. This is maybe something interesting for other teacherpreneurs to kind of take a look at and see how the typical social media influencer uses social media in order to gain more influence and therefore gain more revenue. Now, I don't know what her revenues are. I don't know any of the revenues from any of the teacherpreneurs, right? So I'm actually not sure if being personable in this case for a teacherpreneur does equate to more revenue, but it does equate to more likes, more viewership, and potentially, in this case, maybe even more leadership in the field of teaching. Now, I was a bit curious and I wanted to know where the teacherpreneurs were now after about 6 months from collecting all of the data. And what was interesting was all of the teacherpreneurs, except for participant 15, were still very active on Instagram. Now, participant 15, when I looked up her Instagram account, I couldn't find it. She had actually taken it down. And I thought that that was really strange considering the fact that she had so many followers and so many likes, and she was just so good at being on social media and sharing her experiences and influencing others. So I dug a little bit deeper because I was just really curious, where did she go? And lo and behold, I found her on TikTok. And that makes perfect sense when I really thought about it. TikTok is a newer social media platform that is specifically for videos. And like I mentioned, she used a lot of videos. So it made sense that she took her social media account from Instagram to TikTok. A lot of teachers are actually doing that. There isn't a lot of research on that right now just because TikTok is fairly new, but based on news reports and just stories that I'm hearing, this is a platform that many teachers are using, especially younger teachers, which this participant was a younger teacher. They're using TikTok to share their stories. And we've seen a height of that, especially during the Great Resignation, where a lot of teachers were deciding to leave the classroom, and they used TikTok to share their story of why they were leaving the classroom and, use that platform to, at least start a conversation about ways to change the field of education and teaching in particular. So those are my 2 cents about participant 15. She was a fascinating and really, just interesting person to watch on social media. I really enjoyed her posts. I hope that was helpful in understanding at least one participant from this study. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.